This is Billy, and welcome to the Truth Meets Fiction channel. Tonight, we set sail on the chilling tale of the SS Valencia, a ship lost to the sea but never forgotten. In 1906, this ill-fated steamer sank off the coast of Vancouver Island, but her ghostly legacy lives on. From spectral lifeboats to phantom cries carried on the wind, the SS Valencia has haunted sailors and storytellers alike for over a century. So, join me as we uncover the truth behind the legend, where reality meets the unknown. The spectral saga of the SS Valencia. The SS Valencia was a passenger steamer that sailed off the coast of British Columbia and Washington in the early 1900s. The ship was meant to carry passengers and goods up and down the Pacific coastline, but one journey in January 1906 turned into a harrowing disaster. To this day, the Valencia is remembered as one of the most haunted ships ever to sail the Pacific Northwest, and stories of ghostly sightings continue to haunt the region over a century later. The SS Valencia embarked from San Francisco bound for Seattle with 108 passengers and crew members aboard. The Pacific weather was notorious for its unpredictability, and the Valencia faced rough seas almost immediately after departing. As the ship drew closer to the Pacific Northwest, visibility worsened with fog rolling in thick and fast. The captain and crew struggled to navigate through the increasingly stormy conditions, and tragically, the ship veered off course. On January 22, the Valencia struck rocks near Pachena Point on the western coast of Vancouver Island. The impact tore the hull open, and water began flooding in. Panic swept over passengers and crew as they rushed to the deck, frantically attempting to evacuate. The ship was only 50 yards from shore, but the treacherous waters made it nearly impossible to reach land. Life rafts were launched, but many were quickly overwhelmed by the powerful waves. As the Valencia sank, survivors recounted horrific scenes of people thrown into the water by crashing waves, clinging desperately to debris in a futile attempt to escape. Women and children huddled together, their faces pale with terror as the ship began to slip beneath the surface. By dawn, the wreckage was a scene of chaos, strewn with bodies and debris along the shoreline. Of the 108 people on board, only 37 survived, rescued by brave men from nearby villages and a few passing vessels. Many bodies were never recovered, believed to be trapped in the sunken wreck or carried away by the relentless waves. The tragic fate of the Valencia shocked the nation, and its story became a grim maritime legend. Shortly after the disaster, reports began to surface about ghostly sightings along the shores of Vancouver Island and out on the water where the ship went down. Fishermen and lighthouse keepers in the area reported seeing a ghostly ship resembling the Valencia appearing out of nowhere, drifting silently in the fog, with apparitions of passengers on its deck. One of the earliest reports came from sailors on a nearby ship, who claimed to see the Valencia, eerily intact, drifting in the distance. They described seeing people on board, pale figures who seemed to be reaching out, pleading for rescue. The sailors approached, only to watch the ship vanish into thin air, leaving them shaken and convinced they had encountered the doomed spirits of the lost crew and passengers. Over the years, locals along the coast of Vancouver Island have reported unsettling encounters with what they believe are the restless spirits of the Valencia's victims. Visitors to the rugged shoreline near Pachena Point sometimes report hearing anguished cries and screams in the night, carried by the wind from the sea. These ghostly sounds are said to echo the desperate pleas of the doomed passengers. Several people have claimed to see ghostly women and children along the rocky shore, drenched and shivering, only to disappear when approached. Fishermen also report encountering spectral figures drifting on makeshift rafts far from shore, often vanishing before they can even draw close enough to offer help. One of the eeriest reports involved a fisherman who stumbled upon a mass of ship debris in a hidden cove a few years after the disaster. He described finding rows of skeletons, seated as if still waiting to be rescued, a chilling reminder of the lives lost in the tragic wreck. In the decades following the wreck, sightings of the Valencia itself became frequent enough to spark local legends about the ghost ship of Vancouver Island. Fishermen and sailors have often reported seeing a spectral image of the Valencia appearing in the early morning fog, its hull still battered from the rocks and covered in seaweed. The ghost ship is said to glide across the water silently, with no visible crew or passengers. Some who claim to have seen it report a sensation of unease, as though they are being watched. Others have even described seeing spectral passengers lining the railings, staring out at the open sea with haunted expressions. One famous sighting in 1910 involved a group of sailors who swore they saw the Valencia floating eerily close to shore. They claimed that ghostly figures, pale and silent, looked out from the ship's deck as if searching for something. Before they could draw closer, a thick fog enveloped the ghostly vessel, and it vanished without a trace. One of the strangest elements in the Valencia's story is the mystery of lifeboat number 5. When the Valencia sank, several lifeboats were launched, but most were destroyed in the waves or swept away. However, nearly 6 months after the disaster, a lifeboat bearing the Valencia's name was discovered floating in a nearby inlet. It was in nearly perfect condition, with no visible damage, but there was no trace of any passengers or crew. The lifeboat remains one of the eerie symbols of the Valencia tragedy. Many believe that the spirits of those who tried to escape in the lifeboats are still out there, doomed to drift eternally in search of rescue. The discovery of the intact lifeboat has fueled legends about ghostly survivors, doomed to wander the seas, forever trapped between life and death. Due to its haunting reputation, paranormal investigators and curious visitors still come to Vancouver Island in search of the ghost ship Valencia and the lingering spirits of its passengers. Some even venture out in boats during foggy nights, hoping to catch a glimpse of the ghostly ship or hear the faint echoes of the tragedy that unfolded over a century ago. Many locals, however, warn against these ghost hunts. They believe that disturbing the spirits of the Valencia is disrespectful and could invite bad luck or worse. Some even say that those who attempt to summon the ship risk seeing it firsthand, and might not come back to tell the tale. The SS Valencia remains one of the most haunted and tragic ships in maritime history. Her legacy endures in the ghostly apparitions, the mysterious sounds along Vancouver Island's shore, and the eerie sightings of a phantom vessel drifting through the mist. The tragic wreck of the Valencia has forever etched itself into the folklore of the Pacific Northwest, a reminder of the perils of the sea and the souls who were lost to its depths. Whether it's the distant cry of passengers on the wind or the ghostly image of the ship itself, the Valencia haunts the Pacific coast, a spectral presence caught between the world of the living and the dead. Thanks for joining me on this haunting journey into the legend of the SS Valencia. If you enjoyed uncovering the truth behind this ghostly tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a story. This is Billy from the Truth Meets Fiction channel, where every legend has a story waiting to be told. See you in the next one, if you're brave enough to return.